Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today, August 11th, Monday morning. Good morning, Siege, who joins us as he does every single morning. Siege, how we feeling this morning?
Feeling good. I'm looking forward to my lasagna dinner tonight. Mondays, am I right?
Yes, you are, Garfield. Yes, you are. We had a big weekend. Football was fully back in preseason form. And interestingly enough, plenty of things to talk about out of it. The Jaguars have a little bit of a question mark, and it's not a bad one, and it's finally actually nationally relevant, which is nice for a Jacksonville fan. But let's start in Cleveland, where Shedeur Sanders kicks off his professional career with two touchdowns thrown in the preseason game for the Cleveland Browns. Siege, what were your takeaways from Shedeur Sanders actually being impressive this opening week of the preseason?
That's the thing about Shore Sanders. His whole narrative, his whole storyline, his whole arc through college and everything. He had some moments. He showed some flashes. So I'm not super surprised that he was able to show some flashes. What I am excited about and what I saw was kind of the liveliness he brought to the game, the fun it looked like he was having, the comfort he was out there playing with. To me, if I'm the Browns, that's something that I'm sticking a flag in. The performance was great. The stats were great. All of that was great. You love to see it. It is preseason, so you take it with a grain of salt. But that liveliness, that almost that swagger that we know that Shador has, that he's able to bring to the Browns organization, even in preseason, to me, that's something the Browns have not had in a long time. They thought they were going to get it with Deshaun Watson, and they got a whole different kind of swagger with Deshaun Watson. So to me, if I'm the Browns, at the very least, I'm making a note of this. I'm saying, okay, he looks like he's having fun. The guys look like they're having fun out there. We did win. It was preseason, but we did win the game. And so I'm kind of at least making a mental note of that going forward. And me personally, I'm not the biggest Shador fan. I'm not a hater, but I'm not a fan. But it was nice to see him out there so comfortable and just having fun playing football. It's a great thing to watch.
Yeah, I thought Shador Sanders had an intense amount of pressure on him. Because if he doesn't perform well in that game, every single person is going to come out and be like, this is why. This is why he was a fifth round pick. It wasn't because he did bad interviews. We're going to laugh about again that his jersey's retired, despite the fact that his team went like, there's some bubbles, a game over 500 celebration this morning. That's what's going to be the narrative because that's what people expected, right? People root for others' downfalls. And I think the number of people rooting on the downfall of Shedeur Sanders is a not insignificant number of people. And so if he doesn't perform at a high level in that opener, that's what's going to be the conversation. And so I thought that for a game that has no markings, it's never going to be recorded as an official game, doesn't count for anybody's stats. The fact that Shedeur Sanders still came out and met the moment with high expectations, for as high as they can get for a guy who is a fifth round pick, and that's who we're caring. Like, we're not getting blown up with Cam Ward conversations, right? We're getting blown up who was the number one pick. We're talking about a fifth round pick, but that's the attention that Shedeur Sanders has. I thought he played really, really well, and credit to him because he's kind of been flip flopped, right? I mean, he was the fourth string quarterback. He sucks. There's no way he can play. Then he was actually he's going to start for us in the first preseason game. Just this back and forth. I don't know which end it is. I thought he met the moment exceptionally well. Siege, do you think he starts game one of the regular season? Does he become their week one starter?
No, no, I don't. Um, Do I think he's the best quarterback in the room or the best potential in the room? Possibly. I do actually think he could be. I think he's not for the decision of it follows the scrutiny that you're talking about. I think it's you put him out there week one and they lose and he doesn't play well. Is he the scrutiny that's going to come towards him and the Browns organization for drafting him at all and starting him is going to be generational.
Be high. Yeah.
Um, Haters follow. That being said, like I think he goes out there, week 5, 6 when the Browns are 1-4, 1-5, something like that, and that's generous that they would have gotten a win. And at least some of the pressure is off a little bit. It's the
Yeah.
Browns already suck. We're just gonna give Shador a shot. Like maybe this will help. And if he wins the game, boom, the swagger of the Browns is gonna be up big. Shador's swagger is gonna be up big. And if he loses, well, the Browns suck. What was he supposed to do? And to me, and as I'm saying all of it out loud, Marsh, it would be a terrible decision to start him week one. So to answer your question, there's a shot that the Browns start in week 1 because it would be a terrible decision, and the Browns are known for making those kind of decisions. So it'll be interesting to see. I honestly might find a place where I can maybe bet on that and put my money somewhere.
There's no reason for the Browns to start him week 1 because I don't the expectations of this team in this QB room is non-existent. I think there's two things working against him. The first is that Kevin Stefanski wants to keep his job, and so there's a desperation move of do I think if I'm Kevin Stefanski, do I think I can win a lot of football games with Joe Flacco as my starting quarterback? Because you need to win games if you're the Cleveland Browns right now. You need to win games. Do I think I can win a lot of games with Joe Flacco? Not really. I don't. I don't think so. So does Shedeur Sanders give us a better chance? From a development stage, I don't think that it helps for him to be week 1. I don't really believe heavily in rookies starting early on in the season. But that's going to be the overreaction to this is, oh, he's the week 1 guy. He definitely needs to start, get all these reps. I don't think that he shouldn't start this season. I think he should start at some point, but I do not believe that week 1 makes a ton of sense for him. I think he makes sense if you're pushing to your point, week 5, week 6, because even if they're mediocre, I think it's still worthwhile. What do we have? Do we have a guy or do we not? Because Joe Flacco's not our guy 5 years from now, right?
No,
I don't
right
think they
next
think right. I don't think they think Deshaun Watson is their guy 5 years from now. So eventually, if you're Cleveland, do we have a guy that we think could be our guy 5 years from now, right? And if things are going okay, I wouldn't be surprised if they say it could be maybe it could be better, and you throw him in there. I think the emotions and the psyche of how do you put a quarterback into the league and into a starting position, I think is the most challenging navigational block that any team has, right? Do we take the time to let this guy feel comfortable in the playbook, get practice reps, and go out there? Or do we throw him in there and give him live game reps and learn from that? I don't think starting in week 1 makes sense because I think then the attention that I just talked about as a preseason game being non-existent, but there still being some, times that by 10 siege for a week 1 game.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. That being said, it just makes me feel like maybe the Browns will do it. Probably
Desperation.
not. I think Joe Flacco's the week 1 starter. He's got to be.
Desperation could change it. Yeah, I agree, though. Joe Flacco should be 1. All right, let's go to Jacksonville, where 2 things happened. One that we should talk about. One that's just fascinating. 70-yard field goal. That's the thing that's just fascinating. 70-yard field goal from our man Cam Little. I think is his name. I hope his name. Jacksonville, new kicker. I mean, not even did he get it in. The guy caught the ball, the little ball boy caught the ball on the other side of the goalpost. He probably had another yard or 2 on that kick. An absolute boomer. Would have been a SWFL record. Instead, it's just a preseason mark that, of course, as we said, will not be marked in any statistical records, although I would argue it should be. But the other piece was Travis Hunter. Plays both sides of the football, a little bit of wide receiver, a little bit of D-back. Not a ton, obviously, because it is preseason. Do you think that Travis Hunter is going to actually be playing both sides of the ball this season for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I do. And by the way, kickers are back. Kickers are so back.
They should be. They need some better swag. They just look dorky.
I would agree. Kickers are back. We had the whole Justin Tucker incident. That was hurtful. We had the whole, what's his name from Kansas City?
Harrison Butker.
Yeah, we had that whole situation, and we had the whole Justin Tucker thing, and kickers were taking a hit. Kickers are back, baby. We're back. But answer the question, I actually do. And to me, one, do I think Travis Hunter is going to be like one of the best DBs in the league and one of the best wide receivers in the league? No. I don't think so. I don't think he'll be a top 10 on either side, realistically.
Are you saying this season or ever?
Not this year.
Okay.
Which, I mean, for a rookie to do that, on the DB side, It's not that crazy to find a rookie that does that, to be honest. But on the wide receiver side, that's crazy. It doesn't usually happen. We did have a couple guys last year who kind of, were flirting with that, if not in that category. So it's not super unrealistic. But I do think he plays both sides of the ball. I think if you're the Jags, you don't make that trade and move up to get him just to have him play one side of the ball. Because realistically, you could have stayed at the spot you were and got a guy who was just as good at one side. I think you did it, one, it's Travis Hunter. It brings a little swag, a little flair to your organization that, to be honest, needed some. Yep. And 2, I think they did it because they believe in the possibility that he could be a really good 2-way player in the SWFL. which is not something we've really seen in a long time, or I mean, really ever in the SWFL.
Yeah.
Not ever. We've seen it before. Guys have done it before. But I think there's a reason they did that, and I don't think they did it just to have him play one side of the ball. I think that would have been
Yeah.
a silly move. I think they're going to use that, if for nothing else, because they don't believe that he can be good at both sides. It's gonna put butts in seats, and it's gonna put ratings up. But yeah, I do absolutely. I think he plays both sides of the ball this year. This year, we'll see how it goes from season to season. But this year, Travis Hunter both sides of the ball.
I think he's a both sides of the ball guy for the foreseeable future. And for a couple reasons. One, I think you can spare him. I think he probably primarily plays on the defensive side of the ball. Like that's his he's mostly over there. But to give him 30 reps of offense, right? You don't use him for blocking situations. I mean, you'd have to use him somewhat for those just so that it's not obvious that you're not using him for blocking situations. But he's an athlete. He's an athlete that needs the ball in his hands. He's a playmaker. He's not a positional player. He's a playmaker, right? It's why we've seen guys like Debo Samuel thrive. You know, they're sitting in the backfield. Just get him touches. That's why Saquon Barkley, try to get him touches not out of just handoffs, but screens and passes. Tyreek Hill. Like, you want to get your guys that make a difference 10 to 15 plays a game. And if you're just going to line him up as a wide receiver, then I think you can do that, right? You can spell him. You can take 2 plays off on the defensive side of the ball, and you're just saying, look, and I would add this: playing cornerback, not always the most physically impactful position, right? A good cornerback, ball's going to the opposite side. You're working your tail off to keep an incompletion, but good cornerbacks, no one wants to go to him. Richard Sherman would get thrown at in football games because he was too good of a cornerback. Darrelle Revis wouldn't get thrown at because he was too good of a cornerback. If Travis Hunter can get to that level, and I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying if he can, you're sparing yourself some of the, oh crap, they're just throwing to his side of the ball 11 times in a game. I think that if he's capable of being good, then they're going to play him both sides. But they have a need. They need a number 2, number 3 wide receiver. Mike Evans Gabe Davis, is not that guy. Christian Kirk is gone. You gave up on Evan Ingram, or you moved on from Evan Ingram at the tight ends position. The bona fide wideout you've got is Brian Thomas Jr. You need somebody behind him. Travis Hunter can step in and be that guy. And oh, by the way, their secondary was terrible last season. Atrocious. I mean, you could have made a bazillion dollars by just betting the over on opposing quarterback passing yards, and you would have made pretty much hit every time because that safety and that secondary, was terrible. So I think out of desperation, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to play this guy both sides because they need a better wide receiver than they had previously, as at least at the number 2, number 3, and they need a better cornerback than what they had previously across the board.
I mean, I think you nailed it. I think you made a really good point about a really good cornerback. To me, what makes an elite cornerback in the SWFL is that I don't hear the broadcast team say your name more than maybe once just to mention you and how good you are. But I don't hear them say so-and-so swatted the ball away. I don't even hear them say, what a pick from so-and-so. Maybe every couple games, but if you're a truly elite receiver, I don't hear your name during the game. I don't. Right. I don't hear your name. They're talking about your teammates who are getting thrown at. They are not. When Darrelle Revis was in his prime, you know how many times they said his name during the game? Max once or twice. Nobody talked about him. Pat Surtain, nobody's talking about him. Why? Because he's not in the play. He's not in the play ever. Yeah. You're not throwing at him. So I think, but it's a really good point that if that is the case, the physical toll that is taken on Travis Hunter defensively is not going to be that bad. Yeah, he's going to work his tail off, but he's got great stamina. We've seen it. He's a freak athlete. He's got the stamina to play both sides of the ball. As long as he's not getting beat up on defense, there's no. Right. I agree. There's no reason he can't take 30 snaps offensively a game and be just fine. So I'm excited to see it. I think it's very cool. Am I a huge fan of Travis Hunter personally as a person? Depends on the day. But I'm excited to see him play football on both sides of the ball, and I'm excited to see maybe the Jags will be decent. Maybe Trevor Lawrence. Maybe Trevor Lawrence will be that guy this year.
I sure need him to be.
Maybe Etienne will be that guy again that we saw 2 years ago. I would love that. Maybe Tank Bigsby. The Jags have there's some promise in
maybe Tank Bigsby.
Maybe Vayshawn Tuttle. Who knows? There's some promise on this Jags roster. Let's see if they can put it together.
So speaking of preseason as a whole, How much takeaways do you have from preseason? Like I personally, I do not really lock into preseason games, mostly because starters are going to play for 2 to 3 possessions, and then and especially as the further into preseason go, the less. Like Joe Burrow, he went like 10 of 13. Like we're not seeing Joe Burrow much the rest of this preseason. So what type of?
I'm surprised we saw 13 passes from him, to be honest.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
So how much stake do you put into preseason games and preseason performances?
Not a whole lot. I like you. I as you just said, I don't put a whole lot of like attention into the preseason. I'll see the highlights. Maybe I'll sit down and watch a game if I got nothing going on. But I don't sit down and watch a game. I sit down and have a game on in the background.
Right.
What I will say is and this probably isn't the most straightforward way to do it, but just personally, I tend to put more stock into good performances and things like that from young guys in the preseason than I do bad performances. I'll cite Ashton Genty. You know, everyone's super excited. He's this guy. I do have my takes on, you know, where he played college football, but you know what he had like -3 yards or -1 yard on 3 carries.
3 for -1, yeah.
And people are freaking out. They're like, "Oh my god, like he sucks. Like what? Like this is so bad." Jamar Chase was so bad in the preseason. People like didn't think he was going to play. His rookie year, Jamar Chase was dropping balls left and right in the preseason. Look at him now. Now he is arguably the consensus best receiver in the league. And it's just so bad performances. I don't put a whole lot of stock into, especially the starters. They don't get to play long enough to get a flow going and things like that. But what I do take a little bit note of is those kind of back end rookies who did not get talked about, weren't high draft picks, but ball out in the preseason. Because that to me is where, like, if you're one of those guys, that's your chance. That's your chance to, first thing you got to do is make the roster. When they make roster cuts, you want your name to be above that cut line. And that's where they get to do that. So that to me is the exciting part. And that's the part where, to be honest, that's where I go fill the back end of my fantasy football dynasty roster. Because I say, all right, this guy, he's got some promise. But no, I mean, I don't put that much stock into the preseason because I think it's more than anything just getting warmed up. It's just guys getting warmed up, things like that. For more than anything, I think it's for the coaches to kind of get their game plans together and things like that. So preseason's fun, can be kind of fun, but it doesn't mean too much. Never does.
Yeah, I'd say preseason is a lot like summer league for the SWBA, where you're going to be able to both confirm pretty much this. You're going to be able to confirm your assumptions, right? Or you get the combo of that's preseason, right? Let's say, like, if you were a Shedeur Sanders supporter, big night. I told you this guy was good. This guy's fantastic. Never doubted it for 1 second of my life. If you're a detractor, you say that's preseason, man. Nothing. So I don't think that there's no ability to get confirmation. You're going to be biased with any confirmation you come up with. But I do think, to your point, I get more interested in the good performances because then you're showing me you got it, right? You're showing, at least in this situation, you're put on a show and you're playing well. Doesn't matter the competition, you played well. That catches my attention. Bad performances, to your point, you've got, like, especially running game. Like, to me, it's easier to be effective in the passing game because there's just so many intricacies there. Running game, your linemen might not know what combination they're picking up. You know, you could have linemen that are not in shape, not ready to roll. It's the first game. It's hard to run the ball in general. Like a three carries, you could easily have at any stretch of a 15 to 20 carry game. If you're Ashton Genty, you could have -1 yards over a 3 carry span. It just so happened those were the first 3 carries of preseason, right? So I don't really dive too much in any direction because I think it's just going to confirm any bias that you have. But it is entertaining to see who's showing out, and especially the guys, to your point, deep roster guys. You want to see a rookie have a good performance. Say, okay, at least he's capable of that. Let's see if he can string it over into the regular season. All right, Siege, I appreciate you jumping on. We got plenty more activity coming. The off season for basketball continues to roll, but we're trickling towards the end of it. Soon we'll have plenty of things to talk about, especially in the football front. So we'll talk to you, Siege, next Monday. We'll talk to you all tomorrow morning here on SimWorld TV. Only place you can see the game, be the game.